Hey y'all, I'm Joshua and I'll be your host.
And I'm Ariel and I'll be your other host.
And we're the Midnight Guild.
So today we're going super comfy in our robes. Or should I say Josh's robes.
We're giving you the Hugh Hefner vibes without all the weird stuff.
Right. Weird stuff, but not that kind of weird stuff. Let's see. Today we're going to finish on our personal stories because I didn't realize that we had so many. That it took up so much time.
I feel like she has a lot more than I do, but,
I don't know. I mean, I probably do, but
repressed memories.
Literally, though, because I was like, oh my God, I remember this as you were talking.
That is
or
the
while
Southern
I was
way.
telling other stories.
That is the Southern way.
Word.
So, but before we, get into anything, so you know a little bit more about us, we are in the Appalachian Mountains. No, it's actually not Appalachian, it's Appalachia. But...
Right.
Yes, honey. Or how did the Northerners say it? Appalachia.
Appalachia.
Yeah, no, that's not how you say it.
No, honey, it's not. It's Appalachia.
Appalachia. And if you get confused, just be like, I'm going to throw an apple at you. And you're good.
Oh my God, I've never heard that.
Really?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Loves it.
Yeah, right. It's cutesy. Very demure, very cutesy, very mindful. Moving on.
Agreed.
Wow.
We're in East Tennessee. Oh, I didn't mean it bad.
Geographical locations. Okay.
Oh my God.
We're in East Tennessee.
I'm just kidding.
It's like we're in East Tennessee.
That's a big place. Nobody's going to be like, oh, East Tennessee. I know exactly where.
Trust me, they could tell by our dialect. We have a very select dialect to the area.
Do you think I'm super? Do you think I talk pretty country or
depends.
Southern?
It depends.
Well, yeah, I feel like everybody has different pitches for what and when they're talking and who they're talking to. Your voice does change.
It does. How do I put that out there? I believe it depends on your level of inebriation.
Agreed.
Yeah. Because, when you're out there, when you're, honey, you like cornbread. Cornbread. Which the same boat. I like to think that I sound like, a
Southern Belle.
Yeah.
And you do.
Thank you.
I'm dead serious. That's what I think of when I think of your voice.
Oh, well, that makes me feel likewise.
Stop.
I know, full of everything tonight. But the area that we live in, there is a very specific dialect to our literally. We can hear someone and we can tell right off the bat. We're like, oh, you're from where I'm from.
Oh, literally.
Yeah.
Because ours is so much different. Even though we're close to Virginia and Kentucky
and North Carolina.
Yeah, and North Carolina. We do, yes, we sound very similar, but you can tell a difference.
Yes. It's like when you go farther down south, they say you hear more of a twang.
Yeah.
Like a southern,
and I swear that's true. Except for Florida.
We don't really claim Florida, do we?
Well, I just meant in case we are talking about states, and I love Florida. Have you ever been? Of course you've
really?
been. I had a moment.
I mean,
I love Florida.
I don't dislike Florida. I'm not the biggest fan of Florida right now, but it's not been that bad. I mean, South Beach is more, Fort Lauderdale. That's the big gay area. So am I allowed to say gay? I did not know that. Can we say gay? Can we say gay?
You're gay, so why not?
Moving on. That's neither here nor there. Might edit that out. I don't know. We'll see how it comes out in later on.
You can say gay. I promise you can say gay.
Well, I know I can
say because gay. We're not being rude. You know what I'm saying?
I didn't let them come for me. I don't care.
Well, you're gay.
Exactly.
It's a hate crime if they come for you.
It is, honey. It is. And I'm, we're in Tennessee, so, honey, yeah. Anyhow.
Get off her backs. I said our backs like I'm gay.
She's not. She has a lovely husband named Jesse. You'll meet him eventually, I'm sure. And he's a big old burly biker daddy.
You said if you want to know a little bit more about us, we're from Appalachia, and then we went
right. Okay, so
way off topic.
We are nestled in the foothills of the Smoky Mountains, which we are, post Hurricane Helene, and all of our prayers and thoughts and are with everyone right now because it has been so rough lately.
It has, and we're very fortunate that we were not in the path of it at all. We're very, very blessed, and just our heart breaks for everybody that's around here that is struggling right now, and I'm so sorry.
It's horrible.
It's
horrible.
so bad. I can't even watch the stuff that like comes up.
The day that we thought that a hurricane would hit Tennessee.
I know. That's what I will say. That is like a lot of people are like, they should have been prepared. They should have been prepared. I'm like, no, honey, we're in the mountains. Like, this has never happened.
What got me is the people who told us to seek higher ground, and I'm like,
honey, we're on the highest ground.
I'm like, honey, we're literally known as the Highlands.
I'm like, we are the highest up we can go.
Right.
That did hurt my feelings. That was going to sound hilarious, but it is true. It did hurt my feelings, especially for the people that went through it. Because where we are, we're in a valley, and if one of the dam closest to us would have broken, we would have been underwater.
We would have.
But
all of us live near a river.
Yes, literally. I live on the river. Remember?
It's across the road from me, but it's still close.
Yeah, very. And if the dam broke, we would all be underwater. So we were very, very fortunate that the people that run our dam learned from what was happening to let the dam loose and let the lakes and stuff fill back up. Because we would have been in the same predicament, and it just absolutely breaks my heart that so many people have lost everything.
But we are Appalachian strong. So I think we need to move on to the actual podcast. So we're going to tell a little bit more about our personal stories, a continuation of our first episode.
Yes.
So bear with us as we
keep remembering random stuff.
Right. And honey, we are going to go off tangent, just so you know. That's just the type of people we are.
Yeah.
But
it's a Southern thing. I swear it is.
It truly is. It truly is.
They're going to be like, stop talking about being Southern. And we're like, sorry.
But anywho, we digress. So we're going to move on.
Okay, do you want to go? I don't remember who we left off on.
Let's see here. I know I told my big long story.
Yeah, I think that's where we left off.
I think that's where we left off on.
Okay, so I'll go ahead. I'll start.
Okay, all right.
Okay, bake break.
She started last time, but it's all right.
We left off on you. Okay. Do you want to go first? Because you totally can.
Oh, honey, don't matter.
Then shut the hell up. I'm just kidding.
Wow.
Okay.
She's mean tonight, you all. She's mean.
After my dad died, my mother got remarried, and I was 8 when they got remarried, and we moved into this old house, and that my stepfather had already bought, and he was wanting to add on to it, and so we moved into this really, really super old house. It was burnt. It was built in the early 1800s. Simple white farmhouse, but big, and then we were building on a new part as big as the other side, so it was huge. And I remember I never had a good feeling about the house when I was little, but like I was so young that like I didn't know to just speak up and be like, I don't like this place. But even if I had, it wouldn't have changed anything.
Right.
So I got bad vibes from this house from the jump. I was not happy to be moving out of my family home into this new house, and that's kind of what I think I chalked it up to in my little brain. Yes. But at the same time, I was so scared of this house, and I hadn't even seen anything yet.
Sorry, excuse me.
Oh, you're fine. So we move in. Things don't happen automatically, like right from the jump, nothing like that. We had lived there for a couple of months, and like you were saying in our previous video when you were talking about like things would get moved and stuff at your brother's house, that's how it started. But like I don't even know exactly when it first started happening, but after it started happening so often, you're like, something's weird. Like things will be in completely different rooms, and like simple stuff, but weird stuff too, like loaves of bread. And in this story, for some reason, a loaf of bread is going to be so important to this whole story. I will never understand it.
How very biblical.
Really?
Loaves and fishes.
Oh, I didn't think about that. So, like I say, a couple months in, and like things have been missing for a while, but then they'll turn back up. And like things you would like, I remember my mom like tearing the house apart numerous times to like look for certain things. She's like, I swear it was on the counter. I just saw it, that kind of thing. And then you would find it like for example, like this is just an example, like in the living room on the desk.
Yeah.
Like, and there was no rhyme or reason for it to be in there. But anyway. Like I said, it was built in the, oh my God, why can I not speak? it was built in the early 1800s. It was a root cellar, so completely dirt. Okay.
Oh, I have one.
I know. And this basement was really, really big for, at least it was in my mind as a child, because to me it looked huge and it was so scary. So the way that the walls were, okay, the floor was dirt, the walls were dirt, and when they got up to a certain height, they curved over. And so there was a gap in between the ceiling and the wall about this much. And it went all the way back. And so it was nothing but pitch black darkness.
When I tell you that you are describing my cellar right now, I'm
Really?
not even making that up. Yeah.
Oh
It
my
does
God.
the exact same thing.
So scary, is it not?
I don't go
You're like, what's in between that crack?
honey, I don't go down there. No.
I don't blame you. Okay, so the basement was super creepy, and I avoided it at all costs, which we rarely ever went down there because, I mean, it was a dirt cellar.
Yeah.
It was just really, really creepy, and I got bad vibes from the basement. And the basement door was in the kitchen, and it was a super old door. So it didn't shut good. So you had to really put your weight into it to like actually get it to latch. And there was just something about that door; it would just come open. But like I said, it was hard to latch, so that's just what I chalked it up to. Growing up, for the longest time. So anyway, a couple months into us first living there, I had gotten bad vibes about the basement, but I thought I just thought to myself, oh, it's just because it's a basement.
Yeah.
And some weird things had happened. Like I said, things were getting moved around and stuff like that. Then activity kind of picked up, and I'm going to leave out names and stuff like that. But I'm trying to think how the best way to word this is. So my step-parent was not exactly the best person. And let me their behavior got a lot worse, and as their behavior was getting worse, the activity was getting worse. And so they coincided, and it was just really creepy. And I mean, I didn't really think about it as a kid, but now that I'm an adult, I did think about it. So I would come home from school, and most of the time my stepdad was like working outside or doing something around our land, because we had quite a bit of land. And so most of the time I would go in by myself, because my sister rode a totally different bus, because she was coming from the high school and I was coming from the middle school. And I would come home. Nobody would be in this house, and this house is massive. And I would go into the kitchen to like get a snack or whatever almost every single day. And nothing creepy had ever happened. This is a few months into it. And then I would start coming in, and every day we kept the bread in the middle of the island in the kitchen. Every day the bread was like either untied and opened, or untied and opened, and like maybe some bread like on the counter. And I was like, for the longest time I never said anything, because I was a kid. I mean, what do I care? But like at the same time, this is really gross, but we started getting rats. Not mice, rats. And I, just being a kid thinking I knew everything, I was like, the reason we have rats is because somebody keeps leaving the bread open every freaking day. And my mom and my stepdad just kind of like looked at each other, and then looked back at me, and he was like, you're not the one doing that? Because he would be outside when I would come home, almost always, working in his like little shoppy areas and stuff. And he was coming in, because when he was going out, the bread was fine. But he was coming in after I got back from school already. So he was thinking I must have came in, like made myself a little sandwich and left the bread just laying out. No. When I was coming in, the bread was like that. So I don't know if they believed me or not. They never let on like they didn't believe me, because they did look spooked. But little did I know, they were experiencing paranormal things that us kids knew nothing about. My little sister at the time was itty bitty, like so tiny. She was a preemie, and she was itty bitty, and her room connected to our mom and my stepdad's room. And it was technically supposed to be a big walk-in closet, but my mom made it the baby's room because she wanted to be close to her.
Why not?
And but still, where my mom is such a heavy sleeper, she still had the baby monitor right next to her head, just in case. And my mom would hear noises coming from Victoria's room, like little kids talking, or like little kids like kind of whispering, like giggling and stuff like that. And she never told us that until like way after, like we already moved out of this house.
That's very creepy.
Yeah. And so my mom ended up moving Victoria's bassinet. Like she had a bassinet plus her crib in her room, but she ended up moving a bassinet next to her bed and just letting Victoria sleep right there. So, but on my end, whew. Okay, I didn't know there was this thing, and if you're really into paranormal things and stuff like that, you might already know what this is, but there's this entity called the Hat Man. Have you ever heard about that?
I don't know.
Okay, all around the world, you will hear stories of the Hat Man. And nobody understands why we all see the same thing or whatever. But it's really, really common in children that children see this man with a hat on. Mostly like a top hat, but mine wasn't necessarily like a top hat.
So like Abe Lincoln.
Similar, yes.
Okay. Visual reference.
Right. But it's just a dark shadow. Okay, and he like haunts them. Like, whatever. That's really common in kids. Look it up, it's freaking weird. I, of course, had no idea what that was. I didn't know what that was until I turned like freaking 30. I didn't know that was a common thing. And I'd actually forgotten about it. And then I was like, oh my God, I've seen the Hat Man. Every night, where we were renovating this house, I was too scared to sleep upstairs because it freaked me out really bad. So I slept in what was supposed to be the dining room. But there were so many rooms that we just made another room a dining room. And so I actually slept on the room off the kitchen that was closest to my mom and my stepdad, because you just walked through the kitchen, there was their room. Okay. One door had a knob, and then the other door was a swinging door.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you pulled the swinging door back far enough, it would catch on the floor, and it would stay open. I didn't want to sleep with my doors closed. It scared me to be in nothing but the pitch black dark. Even if I had a nightlight, the room just freaked me out. So I always slept with the door open. And every night, I shit you not, from where my bed was, it looked directly at the back door. And the back door was almost like a screen door, but clear. So just a glass door, sorry. Every night, the Hat Man would come and stand at that door. And even though I couldn't see his eyes, it was just a silhouette, I could feel him staring at me. And I would just stare back and I would just be froze in fear. Yeah. And I never told anyone. Like, I never told my mom.
Wow.
Anything, and I don't know why. But that's the worst part. But not every night, but quite often. So I told you that, like, where my room was, you could walk out the swinging door, be in the kitchen, walk straight to my mom and stepdad's. On the other door that I had an actual handle on the other side of my room, you walked out into the foyer, and then there was the staircase right next to it, my door. And on the other side, there was the front door, staircase. You could walk directly across the foyer into a living room. So, not all the time, by no means, but I would say at least once or twice a month. And I lived there for 3 years. You would hear what sounded like someone dragging a big ass, like, heavy chain up the steps.
Oh, wow.
Never down, but always, like, up. Like, it was, and you could hear footprints. And sometimes I would even hear, like, when it got to the top of the stairs, you would hear it drag for a minute across the top of the floor, but barely. But I'm not joking, like, I heard chains being dragged up the steps all the time. I would hear people talking, but I could never make out what they were saying, because they sounded like they were, like, 3 or 4 rooms over. But, I mean, sometimes it would sound like there was a legit, like, party going on because of all the murmuring. I actually ended up, no, I didn't move it. I just turned around. So, used to, You would go out the front door, and then on the side of the house was my swing set. And if you sat on a swing and faced the house, there was at the top of it there was these two windows, and it actually was my stepsister's room, and she wasn't there a lot. She came every other weekend. I sat down to swing, and I looked up. I just happened to look up, and I will never forget there was a woman like dressed in like Victorian style clothing, kind of, and a little boy next to her, and they were like almost grayish. And they would just stare at me. But the woman, the little boy was creepy, don't get me wrong. But the woman, like, scared me to death. I, like, literally, the first time I ever saw him, I was literally, like, petrified. I, like, could not move. I was, like, so scared. But I got so used to seeing it, and I only saw them when I would go swing. Never saw them in the house walking around or anything like that when I was inside it. But it became such a normal thing for me. I also did not tell anyone that. I was afraid of my stepdad, not because he ever hurt me, just because he just was he had a very commanding presence, and he was very intimidating. I think I just thought they would think I was a liar, and so I just kept to myself about it. And so what I started doing was I would just come out like it was freaking normal that there's people up in that window watching me that aren't there, well, aren't alive, I should say. Instead of sitting facing the house to swing, I just turned my back on them and swung the opposite way and just acted like it wasn't happening.
If that is not the most southern thing to do.
Just turned my back. I was like,
turn my back, honey.
I was like, honey, I'm trying to swing.
We won't think about that today. We'll think about that tomorrow.
Literally, though, I'd be like, just act like they're not there, girl.
So my brother, he I guess started hanging out with, I guess, the wrong crowd, so to say. So he was experimenting with a lot more things.
Okay.
If you get my drift there.
Yeah, I got you.
But anywho, my precious Memo Debbie, may she rest in peace. She always said that our family was blessed with gifts.
Okay.
And she always says these gifts were, gifts from God.
Right.
And that they should always be wielded for the benefit of people and not against it. Now, my mother, she raised us in such a way to where we were very skeptical about things. Not so much, we believed, but then we didn't believe, if that makes sense.
It makes sense.
Yeah. Because we were raised in a very strict Christian family. Yada, yada, yada. So, my grandmother, my Debbie, she would have premonitions, so to say. So she had a premonition involving my oldest brother, and I remember her calling my mother, because I remember we were outside and we were planting flowers. We was doing something in the dirt. We were planting stuff. I was, a kid, so I really wasn't planting nothing. I was just planting
the dirt.
Yeah. But my mother was. And so my mama called, and she told her that something bad has happened to my brother. She felt it.
Okay.
Something bad is she doesn't know what, but something's
wrong.
Something's wrong. So my mom hangs up the phone with her. A few minutes later, my mother receives a phone call from the hospital.
Oh my God.
My brother has OD'd.
Oh no.
And to the point where he's on life support.
Oh my God.
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And so, I remember rushing to the hospital. My brother's on life support. And this goes on for, days and days and days. And now this is a story my mother told me like years and years and years later, many years later.
Right.
So there was a little mountain witch that lived across the mountain, way over towards Pressman's home.
Okay.
Way back up in there. And they say that she was blind.
Oh, wow.
She couldn't see, but yet she could see everything.
Right.
But see, there was a catch about this little lady because she was one of these people that you could supposedly go to if you needed things done in your favor. If that
Okay.
makes sense, yeah. So, and anyone who knows, honey, if you're from this area, well, you're bound to know a mountain witch or two.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are as old as these mountains, really. But this little lady, she would only accept ladies. And when I say ladies, I don't mean just women. I mean, she only entertained the ladies of the town. No one else. She wouldn't waste her time with white trash.
Oh, wow.
I know. That sounds harsh, but
But you're just telling her like it is.
yeah. And she like and her like it's weird her little requirements that she required.
Oh, what were they?
Well, you had to wear black. The ladies were required to wear black when they came to her house, and of course, it was you had to pay money.
Oh, well, of
Obviously.
course.
And she would do whatever she did, whatever the favor.
So basically, you wouldn't know what she's doing.
Pretty much, you would make a request. You would submit, I guess, a payment of some sort, and then you left. And
Don't know how she did it, but she did something to work in
Yes.
your favor.
Exactly. So I remember we're probably about a week into my brother being on life support. I mean, the prognosis is grim. It's pretty much the doctors has said, the next 48 hours are the most critical, and even then he may not
Make it.
he may not make it. He may not survive. And, now my mother is a fine Christian lady, but even fine Christian ladies,
Don't want to lose their children.
no. So, and I remember the day that it, I guess, occurred. Because like I said, my brother was on life support. So one day my mother comes out of her bedroom and she's in a black dress, black high heels, black stockings, black
Right.
gloves, everything.
Okay.
And because I remember the conversation between her and my dad. And she asked him if he had stopped by the bank. And he said he did, but he thought this was nonsense. And she's like, and she pretty much told him to, shut up, Carl. I'm doing everything that I can do for our family.
Right.
So then my aunt, and I want to say my cousin maybe, might have been two aunts, I don't know. They picked my mother up. And they were gone for a long, long time. And it was many years before, it came out that, my mother had in fact went across the mountain to take a meeting with this mountain witch. Because it was completely at her discretion whether
Right.
she met with you or not. She would turn
Right.
many people away. Again, all this is, hearsays and stories and
Of
stuff
course.
like
Of
that.
course.
But, but she took a meeting with my mother because it said that she was a fine lady.
Oh.
And my mother has never spoke about what transpired, what was requested, anything, nothing.
She might have been told to not tell.
Yeah, like she's never disclosed details.
Right.
The only reason we know is that my aunt got a little loose-lipped one time and let it slip.
Oh my God. Were you shook when you
little
found out?
bit, a little bit. So anywho, my mother returns that night and she tells my daddy it's all been taken care of.
Wow.
And the next day, my brother wakes up and makes a full recovery.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that is a little tidbit to the mountain witches of the area.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's wild.
Oh my God.
Right?
I'm Chuck.
Right? Right? Like, again, I can't tell, I don't even know the little woman's name
Right.
because it was just,
She's the
it's,
mountain witch.
we don't talk about it.
Right. No, you don't talk about it.
You don't, because, I mean, my mother could never be, the type of lady that,
Went and saw a
resorted.
mountain witch.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, now, do we believe in them? Of course, honey.
Right.
I mean,
But you don't talk about it.
No. Like, I come from a very devout Christian family. But
Same.
when I tell you that we are the most superstitious people,
I know, but we say we're not.
we act like we are not, but we are the most super.
That is just a bunch of hogwash.
Honey, the most
And
superstitious.
then, but super
people.
superstitious.
But honey, we'll be the first ones to call a psychic. My mama did one time. You remember that? Who was that little woman that used to be on the TV? Miss Cleo, was that her name?
I think so.
Honey, my mama didn't called one night.
Really?
Oh, honey, it was a whole thing. She called the Miss Cleo. Or, well, she called a psychic. I can't say it was Miss Cleo.
Right. It was just one of them.
And if Miss Cleo is gone, honey, we hope you rest in peace.
Amen.
I don't know if she's still alive or not, honey. We ain't heard from her in a while, but she was a figure of our childhood. So my mother calls one night,
Okay.
honey, and, I don't know how long she says on her. And, I mean, the psychic really does not tell her anything of significant value. But, honey, then we get our phone bill. $300 and something. I thought my daddy was going to have a coronary. Swanee, honey, he called that psychic every name in the book. Oh, he was so mad. I mean, absolutely furious.
I mean, yeah, I would have been too.
Oh, my mom and her people, like I said, with that mountain people.
Right.
Definitely mountain dwellers. Long line of, empaths, healers, things of that, which, I mean, could be why I became, a nurse to begin with.
Could have, because you felt really called to that.
Well, my mom always told me that I have the heart of a healer.
Really?
Yeah.
Did she put it like that?
She did.
I love that.
That's what she always said. I had the heart of a healer. Which now my mom was a midwife.
I didn't know that. I actually know. I'm sorry. I did know that. I remember you telling me. I remember you telling me.
Her mama was a midwife.
That's so cool.
Honey, there's my mama kept journals. I'd love to get a hold of her journals one day.
Oh my God, my great grandmother
Chock
kept journals,
full.
and oh my God, I've loved to sit down and like read from like way back.
Yeah,
and you're just
full
like
of information.
Yes,
because honey, my mama was into the mountain remedies. My little great grandma Zippy was her name. Same thing, honey. Little, like, I mean, 4'2", half Cherokee. And that's also what played a lot into the spiritualistic part too.
was
Your
Cherokee heritage.
Yeah, because their spiritual beliefs were a lot different.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And they married together, so to say. I don't know any other way. Blended, perhaps. Blended, would that be a better word?
Either or, I was fine.
I mean, we're just trying to be politically correct for the platforms that we're on.
Because we never mean any offense whatsoever. We're just talking.
Yes, thank you. Oh, I sound like a little Bonnie woman on the... Have you seen her on... Listen, we all fall on a tangent now, but have you seen little Bonnie Pay on the TikTok?
No.
Honey, it's this little woman, this little old woman. And I swear, honey, it's just this little country little old woman. And she gets on his TikToks and she talks about the most randomest things. And she's always like, yeah, thank you. Thank you. And I don't know why I'm obsessed with her. Well, then, okay, so little Bonnie Pate went absent for a little bit. I didn't know what happened to her.
Okay.
Honey, she apparently got banned from the TikTok.
Oh, dang.
I know.
But I swear sometimes I don't think you even have to do that much to get banned from TikTok.
I've had like 4 comments deleted off the TikTok for going against community standards. And I'm like, whilst they were with laughy faces, I don't know how it's going against the community. Anyway, I digress. That's neither here nor there. But anyway, listen, honey, if y'all ain't seen the Bonnie Pate, go check her out. I swear, I don't know why I'm obsessed with that little old woman, but honey, she just cracks me up.
I love little old ladies.
Well, honey, no, and she is wild, like absolutely wild. She wears these wigs.
Oh, get it, girl.
No, it's not like that. It's not like, she wears these wigs. It's like, honey, she on the Temu wearing these wigs.
Oh, that makes me sad.
Some of them look good, though, Bonnie. Like, if this reaches you, honey, and we're not making fun. Like, I am a Bonnie Pate fan. I mean, even, if you did say the Faggots word. But anyway, I won't hold it against you, honey, because I know it's how some people be raised. I forgive you.
I love you. Got off on that tangent, honey.
Honey, forgiveness, honey.
Honey, that was the most southern thing you've said. You're like, but I forgive you.
But I forgive you. Honey, yes, a servant's heart.
A star in your crown, as
right,
you say.
Right.
Still stories on the haunted house I grew up in. Did I?
No.
Okay. So, like I mentioned in my first story, we ended up started to get rats in the house, and there was no rhyme or reason as to
rats, why. No, honey, rats, not mice.
Not mice, rats, like big, like wolf rats is what we call them.
Speaking of mice, honey, this and here won't know. Abel, this is Abraham. No, he won't hunt a mice, honey, no. He won't know.
Oh.
He's definitely a dandy.
Like I said, back in that house I was talking about, rats started showing up, and there was no rhyme or reason as to why. We had exterminators come out. I cannot even tell you how many exterminators. I mean, it was getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
I would be outside playing, and I will never forget it. There was like this little chicken coop that wasn't a chicken coop because we didn't have chickens, but it was from like way back in the day. And I was playing near the chicken coop, and I went around the corner, and there was one, and it hissed at me. I almost passed out.
Oh.
Now, like, this was such a bad, oh God, it freaks me out. I was sitting at the island in our kitchen, and our kitchen was huge, and I saw something. I was eating, you know how we used to sell chocolate at school, the boxes?
Oh, yeah, the World's Fair, honey.
Yeah, the boxes that you opened up, you sold, like, actual candy bars. Okay. We used to sell the good candy, not that, we used to sell Reese's and Hershey's and all that stuff, and Kit Kats. They don't do that anymore, but anyway, I was eating a Reese out of that box. I told my mom, and she gave me the money or whatever. And I was sitting there at the island by myself because my mom had went on to like do laundry or something. And I saw something move out of the corner of my eye, and there was this huge ass rat. I will never forget. It was the weirdest looking rat I've ever seen. But anyway, oh no, that's not even the worst one. We could not get rid of these rats, and that's very typical with rats and flies.
Infestation.
Yeah, an infestation of like a rodent or flies, stuff like that is very typical in a like severely haunted house. It's not.
We have seen the Amityville Horror.
Yeah, like it's not friendly. Oh, you're fine.
I don't mean to make light of your plight here.
No, honey, you're fine.
My cat, I don't know what he's just.
Oh, it's a baby.
Honey, I don't understand what's going on here.
He wants lessons.
He wants in the video.
That's all right. He's a star.
He just wants in the video. Continue.
So, on one instance, like, these rats tormented me. I swear, I don't know what it was. It was like they were after me. We had this huge bathroom. It was beautiful. I will never forget, we had a stained glass window that had roses in it that always reminded me of the Beauty and the Beast stained glass in the movie. And this huge bathtub. And I went to go get in the bathtub, and there was a rat. I got in the tub, sat down, didn't realize it, and there was a rat that ran across the tub. Not in the water, but like on the long side of the wall. I screamed bloody murder, like you would have thought I was being murdered. One night, I'd been already awake because of the whole Hat Man situation, and I was already terrified. And I felt something touch my leg on the outside of the cover. And then I felt another, like something touched my leg up higher. And it just kept creeping up. It made it to like probably right here on me. And I was like, oh my God, it's a rat. It's gotta be. I went like this with my cover to like shield myself. My room was dark, so I couldn't really see, but you heard it hit the wall. And it was like rat-sized. So there was a rat in the bed with me. It like got freaking ridiculous.
Absolutely not. I would have had to leave.
It started telling how many rats were in the bed with me, and I didn't even know it. Like, and this house was clean, Josh. Like, if there wasn't rats, you would have thought you could have ate off the floor. Like, I mean, it was spotless. There was no rhyme or reason for there to be rats. It didn't make any sense. Um, but there's so many stories from that house. They're not all super creepy, but like electronics would turn on by themselves. Loaves of bread would be found everywhere in the house, like that we had bought, but it would be moved from the kitchen to some random ass room. Or my mom, for example, my parents would buy a loaf of bread, and the next day the entire loaf of bread would be gone, and the packaging would just be laying there on the like counter flat because all of the bread had been taken. Which it could have been the rats carrying off the bread, but not the whole loaves that had no teeth holes in them, no nothing, and were in separate areas of the house. So weird shit, basically.
Yeah.
Like weird, and like I said, I mean that's not all, but like they're not super creepy, but those were. I will say that, like I mentioned earlier, it made my step parent get very violent. Not when I say violent, I don't mean like he was abusing us physically, but like he would lose his temper at the drop of a hat. He became really, really cruel, hateful, acting like a totally different person. It more or less led to my mother and him getting a divorce because I don't think he had any intention of leaving the house. I don't really know the whole story, but it was not good. But I don't want to get into that because that's my sister's dad, and I don't want to, talk shit.
I'll tell two smaller ones
Okay.
then. They both kind of involve work. So I am a nurse. I mean, being in that type of environment, we are exposed to death quite often.
Right.
It's not anything that's uncommon. It's pretty much expected, in that world. And there's a lot of myths that go along with, working in a healthcare facility. And I mean, it bypasses even just the long-term care facilities. However, you do hear very similar stories because, I've talked to other nurses, other
Right.
CNAs, things like that. And one of the most common occurrences is what they call the black man.
Okay.
Now, when I say black man, I do not mean African American. I mean,
Right.
it's just a black
Silhouette. Oh, jinx.
and that is, and he always brings death.
I've heard that from like other stories, like
Yeah,
not just around here, but like on the internet, whatever.
yeah, and it's not. It's a very common occurrence that this black man is usually seen quite often, especially in I know in my unit, I take on a lot of the hospice, end of life care and stuff like that. So it's I've heard several stories, and again, and it's easy for people to dismiss because a lot of times by the time that people reach the geriatric level, we have dementia
Right.
in play and stuff like that. However, once you hear the same story from
Over and over and over
multiple
again.
people, it becomes a lot more believable.
Right.
And they hear stories of the black man. Anyway, the incident that I'm going to tell you, this was early in my nursing career. I'd only been a nurse for a little bit of time, so I didn't know a lot of the stories, the things that went along with working in that field. And this was my very first nursing job.
Okay.
Okay. Because and after this job, because I only stayed there about 3 months, and then I went into an entirely different field for years and did not work in a health. Like I didn't work in a nursing home. I said I wouldn't work in a nursing home because it freaked me out.
You got be a certain kind of person to be
Yeah.
able to work in something like
Like
that.
it freaked me out to the point where I was like, no,
Right.
no. So I had I had a little lady, and I mean she was very unresponsive from the get go, and I mean she came in that way. Like her room was on reserve. She came in that way, She came in with a feeding tube. She was
So,
just
no, was she just unresponsive or was she like nonverbal?
pretty much not. I mean, well, I don't know. She was pretty much comatose,
Oh,
if
okay, I
that makes
understand. No,
sense.
I understand.
And I mean, they wasn't giving her long. Her family was one of those families that's really like, I mean, every medical intervention they could take to make her linger
Comfortable.
on. No, linger on. They
Oh,
would to keep her alive. It was
sad.
it was very sad. But like I said, I mean, I was very new nurse. I was very green at that point in time, not seasoned at all. And she had recently come back. She had been out for some time. I don't know what was actually happened to her because, like I said, it's been years ago. I'm not gonna say how many years it's been, because we ain't trying to tell our age up in here. But she, like I said, she'd come back, and I mean, the woman had never opened her eyes. So one night we have a power outage.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've ever experienced a power outage in any type of nursing facility, it's very chaotic.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, people absolutely, especially older people who
Because they get
are
scared.
they do they get scared. A lot of them they have dementia, they have Alzheimer's.
Oh, that looks crazy.
That's the clientele that we're dealing with.
Right.
So it's very very chaotic. So the lights went off. We did have generators, but there was probably about a 25-30 second kind of gap
Blackout.
between, yeah. And in that time frame, oh my gosh, people lost their mind. I mean, trying to crawl out of bed, all kinds of things. So, but I had this one lady, and I mean, she was just screaming, absolutely screaming to the top of her lungs. And I went in there to check on her, and I was like, honey, what's wrong? And she's like, that black man, did you not see him? He's walking up and down the hall. Honey, I didn't think nothing of it.
Right.
So then, as I'm walking by, I peek into this lady's room, and there just seems to be this kind of brief shadow of a black silhouette above her. And I walk in, and her eyes are open. And I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
And then she starts talking. I've never heard it. And she keeps saying that her feet are burning. That's all she kept saying. Her feet are burning. Her feet. So I didn't know what to do. I mean, I'm absolutely
Freaked out.
freaked out at this point. I'm like, I mean, her eyes are like this jet black. She's saying she's burning. I mean, like it was a whole thing.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm freaking out. So I go to the nurse's station. I was like, and I know this is going to sound absolutely crazy, but this is what time I was like, listen, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I'm pretty sure that she's dying and she might be going to hell.
That is insane.
I was like, I don't know who we need to call in this situation, but I feel like somebody needs to be called. So the next morning, I guess they made a call to her family members.
Right.
They got a clergyman in, and so the next little bit, because I'll never forget it, it was Thanksgiving morning. It was the morning of Thanksgiving, because I worked overnight shift. And the little woman that had been screaming to the top of her lungs, she had just been very restless. She wouldn't sleep.
She kept seeing the dark figure.
Yeah. And she said it just keeps swooping up and down the hall. Swooping up and down the hall.
Oh my gosh.
And so that morning, I go in to check on the other woman, and she had passed away.
The one that kept seeing the dark figure?
Yes. No,
The one whose feet were burning.
Yes.
Burning.
She had passed away.
Now, had that clergyman got a chance to see her?
The day before.
Thank goodness.
But she had passed away that day. And
Now, did she ever stop with her feet burning?
see that I don't know.
Okay.
Now, the weird part is that little lady. She said, "He's coming for me next." and she died the very next day.
Oh my gosh. That's terrifying.
Yeah, she died the very next day. That very unexpected. It wasn't like one of those things that it was just one of those, we walked in there and
She was gone.
gone. Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for sitting by and listening to some of our crazy stories. We, of course, have more, and we'll do some episodes later on about those. We hope you guys stick around, and it would mean the world to us if you would subscribe to our channel, comment, like, share it with your friends. It would mean the world to us.
Tell everyone you know about the Midnight Guild. We're the coolest kids on the block.
Exactly.
Right. Mm-hmm. And you can sit with us.
You can sit with us. Bye.
Bye, y'all.